All right, so this guy named Jason, he's like a major internet celebrity. Maybe you've heard of him at JStats CPA. He asked me to submit some feedback about my business, and he chose to roast me, and then he put it online on purpose. My firm got roasted on Twitter. You wanna know what they said? Are they an accounting firm or a marketing firm? How in the world are they only making $150,000? What about tax returns? I'm with Ted. I don't like the billing structure. So Jason, my question for you is, what are we doing wrong?
Run a better firm.
Welcome to NGMI. We're getting roasted. We're opening up a fire.
We're about to get cooked well done.
Well done. Every week on NGMI, we try to make a lesson that we learned from this week and distill it into something that everyone can learn from, because we're all learners. We're all in progress, right, Austin?
Yeah.
This week, we were taught a lesson. Actually, this happened several weeks ago. Everything that you see is a lie, and
nothing happened in the time frame that you think it did. Basically, that's how the world works.
A long time ago, Jason was here in this room, and he said some words to me, and he hung out with us, and he roasted our firm. Jason asked me to submit a form where he would roast our firm in public on the internet. And we did it, and then it took a long time to get any feedback from him because he flew down, surprised us, took us out to dinner, introduced us to another accountant, and now we're all best friends. We're actually moving in together in a couple months, and we're going to create Hype House, but instead of for TikTokers, it's for accountants.
TaxHouse.
We're roasting Jason's roast of our firm. Let's just see his introduction. I want to see his introduction because my introductions are never as good as his are.
We got an accounting firm that is crashing and burning. They got 5 months of cash runway left. They somehow found a way to not make money in this environment. What?
Ouch.
It's so funny because not making money in this environment comes from the context where they bought their firm.
Damn. Get right into it.
I just turned the flame towards everyone else. We have talked to a lot of accountants recently. That's been one of the biggest things for us is we want to network with people and connect with them and hear about their story and understand, hey, how'd you get to where you're at? And the story often starts from, well, so-and-so died. Someone was retiring, and then all of a sudden they end up with a book of business that is sustainable, that might have that needs a lot of TLC potentially.
But it covers all their monthly expenses and does not cause them financial duress. So what you're saying is this is just clickbait.
No, we've already clicked. We've already been baited.
Oh, we've already been baited. Okay.
I just want to say too that Jason has the second most entertaining videos on tax Twitter.
Who has the first?
You, obviously.
I shared some details about the firm on Twitter, and the feedback was...
They're overstaffed for revenue. Something is wildly inefficient here.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one. Most firms are struggling to meet demand. Yeah. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but if they like marketing, don't they even actually want to do the work?
If you like marketing so much, why don't you marry it? That's kind of the vibes. That's kind of the vibes that I get.
Yeah.
Why's no one said let the junior go yet? Roll up those sleeves, big boy.
Do we need to call Blake? Tell him he's fired. If anything, you're hired again.
Usually these are like, hey, what's the next thing we can do to help you along? But most people were just saying,
Fire yourself!
What do you think about that?
I think it's so interesting. I think that fire yourself is basically give up or not taking a paycheck.
I feel like a lot of the feedback was not give up, but it was there's too many cooks in the kitchen. This should be one person. I don't know that I disagree with that. It's kind of like Gordon Ramsay coming in, calling someone an idiot sandwich
And then like, that's kind of the vibe. Obviously, the thing that we've talked about is like the lever that we have to pull is like, stop paying yourself.
I feel like they might not know that we are unestablished, that like we literally stopped doing stopped doing our day job to like say, hey, we're going to do this 100% full time from zero. And we don't do tax.
The problem I think that you encounter a lot with like Twitter or whatever, like there's never any nuance. Like you can't give enough information for someone to like actually have accurate like insight into what you're doing. But it does provide like a really interesting lesson, which is like if you are working with an advisor or someone who's trying to give you perspective on your business, like they need to ask questions.
But it also is interesting too, because we're like people that are commenting on Twitter are like literally saying, okay, I am up 9,000 feet and I'm going to give my perspective. And it's like obvious you're not making enough money. So if you continue this trajectory, you're going to have to fire someone, right? Which is true. It's a very accurate observation.
So I thought, what if I just turned up at their office? So I'm waiting in like a garage. I should be here any minute. Just text me, they're just about there. Somebody's driving up.
This was the greatest moment of your life, by the way. And mine, because I got to witness it.
This day, I think it was a Friday, we had driven, 2.5 hours out to the Coachella Valley, or out to Palm Desert, to go meet with a CPA, have lunch with him, and then come back. And on the way back, Austin had told me before, he was like, hey, I need to meet up with this guy that I don't know because I'm buying some hard drives for crypto and I need you to go with me. It's like on the way. It's a little detour, but then we'll just go back home. And I was like, yeah, whatever, for sure. Like, no worries.
You were not stoked about this, for the record.
I mean, I guess, we've just spent 4 hours in a car. What's another half hour to go get some hard drives so that you can make some dink doink?
Wait, what?
What were you like? What was going through your head in this moment?
I know how much you enjoy Jason's content. Like you would always message Jason and tell me about Jason. And so when Jason reached out to me to schedule this surprise, I was like, oh my gosh, Jeremy's going to die.
I think it's called a parasocial relationship, where you know someone through interactions that you have online, but you've never met them in person. And that's like the strangest relationship ever. And, I've met people through Twitter and like, I've had those experiences before, but they were always on like my terms, like, okay, I'm going to go like work with this person that I met online and like, whatever. Having that sprung on you is so disorienting. But yes, I was stoked. It was a lot of fun to have that surprise. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, and a lot of the point was about to like roast your firm, and I feel like you didn't get a chance at all to like think about or premeditate any sort of responses with regards to this or to what am I going to talk to Jason about. Like it was just, okay, you're in front of Jason, which I think I enjoyed.
That's so funny too, because like that comes up a lot.
At current state, if we grow zero, probably 5 months.
5 months?
What? No.
It's like that reaction where you're like 5 months. And they're like, hold on, what are you talking about? Like, that's not what we've talked about before. I thought it was less. And then we go through and like,
that's something you should have an answer for, right? That's not good.
I did have an answer for it, for the record, because that was the right answer.
We're pulling up the online banking here. Okay, so how much money do we have?
We're at -$6 grand.
Negative $6,000 a month?
So
That's to zero. You're right. You're right.
So
Is that
which is funny because like we'll talk about like, oh yeah, we only have this many months left, but we don't really ever talk about like, oh yeah, to zero, this is what we have. It's like, oh, if we get to this amount in our bank account, then we need to, pull a lever or something changes, that kind of thing.
Does that keep you up at night, Jeremy?
All the time. That's why I'm in therapy.
Okay. Does that keep you up at night, Austin?
No.
Really? Why aren't you concerned?
I've never seen a accounting firm fail. I think that it's a matter of time. We're not seeing clients go away. So once we have someone, we have them. And we can pull levers so that we can get there. And the lever that we can pull is decreasing both of our salaries, because that's more than all of our expenses.
That's the reason we're losing money.
Even in the context of like the advice that was given, it's like that's the advice you would give to someone that needs to stop the bleeding right now, today. The fact of the matter is that we have 5 months. I think that it's still just a matter of time. We're going to book more sales and we're going to keep those clients.
Do you still think along the lines of like, I've never seen an accounting firm fail?
Yeah.
It doesn't worry you that like we could be the first?
We could be.
It's a very safe statement to say like, yeah, no accounting firms ever fail, right? Because everybody has clients. We don't have that background and we don't have that to draw from. So we didn't start off with like $100,000 worth of clients. We started off with 0.
So my first bit of advice is kind of a stop the bleeding bit of advice. And that's just go build a bunch of partnerships with other firms. Until you've picked up another like 10K a month in revenue or so, you're in the black, not burning cash, look to other firms for work. It's a quick way to pay the bills, because the reality is you don't have the same luxury of being selective when you're literally running out of money.
What do you think about that?
I know that we don't have the option to be selective because we would if we could.
That tip is really good. That's been our main focus for a while. Like we're focused on the right thing, and that's just making relationships and getting work from other people. It's encouraging to be like, oh yeah, okay, the fastest way to stop the bleeding is just like help other people. This isn't part of the advice, but like can we just give props to this ad read?
Hey, let me cut in here. So, accounting guy, sales guy, who is IT guy, right?
Oh
Right?
my God.
Guys? Okay, well, want to know who I use? Tech Guru.
This is like seamless. This is incredible. It's insane.
Okay, tip number 2, go work for a cloud accounting firm for 6 months.
No.
If someone will take you on contract for like 6 months while you're picking up that next 10K in revenue, which, as we've discussed, you can absolutely do without one of your current team members,
By yourself.
you're gonna pick up a bunch of helpful tidbits around firm running.
We've done this before, except it wasn't a cloud accounting firm. It was a private company that contracted us, and it detracted us from being able to lean into what our long-term goals were, which is to build as much value into our product as possible, and grow what we're doing. I would say that our slowest point of monthly recurring revenue growth was during the 4.5-ish, give or take, a month of doing that job, which was 100% me full time, and you jumping in as well during sometimes, because it was a high stakes project.
It was also the most amount of money that we have ever made.
100%.
But it was horrible.
It took a lot out of us to do that. And I would rather continue to lose money than like lose sight of what we're doing and building and decrease the value prop that we bring to our current clients and then even prospective clients. It's not bad advice though.
It's not. It feels like there's a lot of opportunity costs, which like on one hand, we could go work in a public firm for 6 months and get insight into how it works and all that kind of stuff. On the other hand, like we could spend 6 months, just the two of us and Blake, networking, building, trying to figure things out as quickly as we possibly can. It's a strange thing. I feel like when you're completely reliant on literally like providing your next meal for yourself, the pressure is so much more significant that you'll do anything to figure out how to perform. It doesn't feel like a benefit, but like having that fire is important.
We want to set everything up in a way that when we have 100 plus clients, our processes are like pretty similar. And I thank you for that, because like that's been something that you've really driven home. I think for me, if I were to be driving that, it would have been just, let's get the work done as fast as possible right now. Versus like, hey, we might spend a little bit more time now, but in the long run, it pays off. It scales well.
A guy one time before I went and got my master's, I was asking him if I should get my master's. This dude like ran a manufacturing company. It was him and a partner, and he spent 30 years in the business. He made his money in the business. Like he retired because of the business and sold it, and has like, he's very wealthy, whatever. And one thing that he told me was like, everything that I needed to know, I learned along the way, but it took me 30 years to find out everything that I ever needed to know about how to run the business. If I had gone to school, or if I had, targeted the experience working somewhere else that was related to my field, I could have taken that shortcut. Like I could have taken off, 10, 15 years of trial and error before I really hit my stride. And that's really interesting because education, I think, can be a really big shortcut and a hack into like, getting you further along where you need to be, but it's not always necessary if you are okay with it taking longer. So I agree. I don't think that's a bad tip.
Our problem isn't our processes. Our problem is how to generate more sales today. I wonder if working in a market that doesn't rely upon marketing at all, would working at a firm help with that?
I don't think it would. I don't think it would solve today's problem, but it might help address problems that we'll encounter in the future.
Tip number 3. I encounter this a lot, where people think they've arrived to a degree of specificity that's final. You can always get more specific. So I think you can do everything that Jeremy's talking about here, but you can also pare it down to industry, down to tech stack. Doesn't mean 100% of your clients today are gonna fit that perfectly, but your marketing is gonna be able to be laser focused on someone that's super specific. It's gonna make the marketing much more impactful. Resist the urge to go wide. As you're building firm partnerships to kind of stop the bleeding, this is your longer term play.
We talk about niching all the time.
All the time, man. And we have disagreed in the past about whether or not we should. When we originally started Amarlo, I wanted to build the business to service creatives. So website designers, photographers, videographers, people in the music industry, etc. Because that's the industry that I came from. I was a photographer for a really long time. What I think we learned very quickly is that industry, that niche, is filled with far too many hobbyists for us to actually make and grow something that would be able to sustain us. And then we decided like, oh, let's go and work with the mortgage industry and, try this niche. We had an email list of tens of thousands of people that we would cold email, and I sent thousands of cold emails to like mortgage brokers and loan officers trying to like drum up some business and all that kind of stuff. Most of those people are not the kind of people that we want to work with. A lot of people have this idea of, oh, just pick a niche and then, build your product around it. There's so much more that goes into that. It's not just about like, oh, where are you? What are they using? And what's the minimum that they can pay? It's more like, well, what are they willing to do with you? And what are their goals? What are they looking for? Because I could still say like, oh yeah, we're going to build a accounting company for wedding planners, and we probably could, but most wedding planners are not going to need the level of service that we want to provide. And so I think it's tough because we've built such a deeply involved product where we're coaching and we're doing the books and we're implementing processes. Not every business can benefit from that, but the ones that do really, really benefit big time. There's not a clear niche within there, or at least not one that we've identified yet.
Totally unrelated meme break.
What the fuck?
Totally unrelated meme break.
I think that tip comes from two perspectives. It comes from the perspective of tax professionals can probably give better advice when they're niching, and niching is easier to do when you bought your business. The second one I've already harped on, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But the first one, like we're talking about financial statement preparation and being able to coach on that, speak into processes and procedures. And aside from inventory and cost of goods sold, like anyone in the service industry, we've been able to do a really, really good job in our opinion and in our client's opinion. So if you don't have inventory, we can help you a lot. And when preparing the financials, it's not as nuanced as tax. And so I feel like niching is easier to not do. Although I do think, though, that niching is a long-term play. When we have the established book of business, which goes back to my other point, for now, like if we're trying to niche, we're saying no to a lot.
We don't have the luxury of being picky right now. A niche, in my opinion, is how you build a big, successful business because you solve one problem for one group of people and you do it really, really well. As long as that group of people is big enough, you'll have a massively successful business. You can speak like them. You can talk to their problems. You can do all of the things that Jason said, which are totally correct. But identifying that niche from zero is a lot harder because you're creating your product along the way. I think there's two ways to go, I guess. You're either building a product for a specific group of people and designing everything with them in mind and getting feedback from those people and trying to figure out what they need, or you're building a product that is successful and solves a problem that is general, not specific to a group of people. And within the people that you serve, you can then identify, oh, this works really well when we speak to, mortgage loan officers, or, when we speak to auto body shops. Like what we say really works well with these types of customers. And so I think it just depends on how you approach it. Because we've been so general for so long, we've had to figure out what are we even selling? Not everybody needs what we're selling, but everybody does need what we're selling.
Yeah, and it's convincing them that they need it.
That's the hardest part, is convincing them.
I think that as we continue to grow and scale to a point where we're able to be picky, we're going to say, hey, we love X. We love X type of industry or X type of client. And we need more of these people. Let's go. Let's start niching hard, because I just agree that niching is the way to go. But it's the problem, or it's the thing of okay, do you niche when you start from zero? When you start from zero with no other source of income?
I've read a lot about tech companies too that encounter that, where they'll build their product thinking that it's for one person, and then 2 years in they're having trouble finding the market that they originally thought they were targeting. And then they'll examine their product, take a step back like we did, and they're like, oh, wait a second. This isn't for the people that we originally thought. We need to change our strategy and go here. And I think that's kind of the tension that we've felt.
Fourth tip here comes down to pricing what you do. I think most people saw their rate schedule and thought, well, that's some cheap bookkeeping. But for coaching, it's wildly cheap. I will say, you can't be a good coach for everyone. So the idea of just slapping coaching on and it being actually helpful, I don't know. The more specific you are, the more valuable that coaching becomes. But if it's me, honestly, I'd probably increase your minimums for new clients around 40% and increase those existing clients about 25% year over year until you get to something you're more comfortable with. What if someone leaves? You still make more money even when those people are leaving. Today, the client who's willing to pay $400 a month but not $600 a month isn't your ideal client. And the easiest way to find out who those clients are, charge them $600 a month. I also think it's worth getting more specific about what coaching services you offer. Is everyone getting it? What's the frequency? Because that ought to be half of the price of the entire engagement.
When I submitted this form, I think that I put that our minimum was $250 a couple months ago. Increased it to $300, which is a 20% increase, I think. Jason would prefer it to be $350. But the funny thing is our average client, the average package that we sell is $500 to $600.
I agree with Jason so much. And especially on the topic of coaching, we are pennies on the dollar is how I feel about coaching. I feel like we do a really good job coaching all of our clients. If we increase our minimum, I doubt people will leave. If we send out an email saying increasing prices all around, I would be okay with that. I would encourage it. That's a discussion we haven't had or talked about whatsoever. Zero.
Part of my concern is going back to we got to take what we can get. You know what I mean? Tomorrow, when I meet with this company that's doing $2 million in sales and I pitch them that our minimum cost for them is $1,800 a month, there's a high probability that they're going to say no. In most people's eyes, that would be okay. If they are looking for something cheaper, then they can go kick tires, whatever. Like, I don't care about them. But for us, if they don't agree to what we're pitching, it means that we don't book that business, and then we are going another stint without seeing any new business come in, which is really tough when you're losing $6,000 a month. So I agree that we should raise prices, our minimum at the very least. I don't know that we're in a place to do that right now. Like, I really don't know, because that just means turning away more people. And we're already not really getting that many inquiries in the first place.
That assumption that he has comes from the fact that he already has a book of business. I agree with you on the second part of, like, okay, well, new business coming in, do we have a huge minimum that's going to, like, basically filter out 80% of people that...
Yeah.
80% of our leads, by the way, we have 2 leads.
Yeah. So we book no one.
Basically. So is that the best way for us to go right now, or is it going to be to book that business and then increase minimums by 50% after year 1, because we don't care if they leave after that, because we booked enough people?
That's the balance of this whole thing, right? We 100% we should be charging like a minimum of like $1,000 a month for what we do, but we can't.
Could we do it to our existing clients?
Not everyone, because if you do that, we have 25 clients, I think. We would lose a good chunk of them, because most of them are much lower than $1,000 a month, for example. But, if we did like a 25% increase, totally, I think we could do that. I think it's something that we should look at in January.
First, you don't need 3 professionals to produce $150,000 in revenue. Someone needs to find another firm. And always remember, just because you like something, funnels, doesn't mean you're good at it. Outsource as needed, hire a coach when you need to, when you can afford to.
Now, can we give these guys some love? Y'all were mean.
You were mean.
So mean. Do you have accounting clients you don't want? Send them over. Not the bad ones, not the stinky ones. I'll link their website below.
You know what's really funny is after he posted this video, we had a really big spike. This was what he posted. A really
Holy
big spike in impressions and clicks.
Final thoughts for you?
I loved it. First of all, the video is like incredibly made. I really appreciated it, and the fact that he flew down here and like talked to us and like really went through things with us, like that was incredible. Not everybody is cut out to be extremely public about the business that they're building on the internet. I don't even know if I'm cut out for it, but the community that it generates, and I've had people like reach out to me like after Jason published this video and be like, oh man, like, thank you for doing this. Like I'm going through a similar thing, or like, thank you for, being so public about what you're doing, whatever. That's pretty unbeatable to me as a general feeling. Of all the tips, tip 1 through 4, I think all of them were great advice, but I think the biggest advice that I would have that he didn't add into that would be like, just have a community, because like the number of people that will pitch into your business when you're building something that involves other people is like, it's insane. It's really incredible.
I feel blessed that Jason came down and made us a part of his roast the firm. Like it's opened up so much conversation between you and I about where we're at, where we're going, and what do we want to do. And barring the tips and the tricks, it's provided a lot of introspection to what we're doing. That feels pretty priceless to me. The video is so good. It was so good. The idea is such a good idea. Roast my firm. That's just like S tier. I see this experience as him kind of like pouring into us, and that's something that I always really value and appreciate.
Yeah, us poor little accountants, I'm happy to announce that I'm actually accepting a new position at Jason's firm starting tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
I'm going to be the chief meme officer.
Walt, I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us. I saw that you wanted... Don't lie to me, Walt! You sussy baka.
What do you think about that?